Good morning, guys. Today is a very special day. Today we are finally going to be learning how to create chocolate sculptures at culinary school. Every week for the next 3 weeks, I'll be taking you guys with me to culinary school to make a chocolate sculpture. So here is a little bit of an idea of what I want to do. So we're probably just gonna do a really simplified version of this. Like, look how pretty this is. I think we are ready to go. I am about to drive to school, but before that, let me just show you guys this piece of cardboard that we need for our sculpture, right? Doesn't even fit in the frame. So yeah, I got my cardboard in my back seat for our chocolate sculpture. We are about to go. Okay, I've just parked my car. I'm in my school parking lot and I'm here pretty early actually, but yeah, I'm just gonna wait until it's time to go in, change into my apron, my hat and my shoes, and go in. I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay, you guys, we are in the classroom. I got here early so I can set up. And yeah, let's make a chocolate sculpture. I'm so excited. So for our first week of creating the chocolate sculpture, we wanted to focus mainly on creating a strong base to withhold the sculpture itself and basically just work on the larger pieces so we can get the foundation done before moving on to more finer detailed work. For this project, my partner would be Miguel here, and we will be working on this sculpture together for the next 3 weeks. We will be using a mixture of both couverture chocolate, which is chocolate that contains a high percentage of cocoa butter, and as well as compound chocolate, also known as fake chocolate, which contains vegetable oil, similar to what you would normally find in most store-bought candy bars. This is for many reasons, because every type of chocolate will give us a different outcome, and we will also be using the couverture chocolate for when we want a stronger, more durable sculpture, such as when creating the base, and the compound can be used for creating smaller work like branches and stuff like that. We will also be using modeling chocolate and doing some cold processing chocolate, which is pretty much just a different way of tempering chocolate. All of these will give us different textures and mediums to work with to ensure we get the desired result. Miguel started off by filling these 2 halves of this acrylic egg mold with some tempered dark chocolate, and he made sure it was nice and level, and then we just let it set. This took about the entire duration of the lesson for it to completely set. We needed this to be fully filled with chocolate in order to withhold all of the weight that we will be putting on top of it, because if we were to leave it hollow on the inside, it would not be able to sustain all of that weight, and it would just make it extremely fragile and break. While Miguel was filling the egg molds, I went ahead and filled this mold my lecturer put together for me. He made it using this thick silicone material, which is normally used for stuff like this, as well as sugar sculptures. This will also be one of the main pieces of our sculpture to add some height to it. They went ahead and filled that with some dark couverture chocolate and let that set completely before removing the mold around it. And to my surprise, we actually did have a cocoa pod mold, so I went ahead and coated the inside with compound chocolate. I gave it about 6 coats, letting them dry in between before giving them the next coat. After it was done, here is what it looked like. This is going to remain hollow on the inside as it's not going to sustain any weight on top of it, and it will simply be used for decorative purposes. We went ahead and created these tubes using sheets of acetate, which we just rolled and taped shut. And then we filled 2 of them with white couverture chocolate and the other 2 with dark couverture chocolate. We will be demolding these next week and carving them in order to make them look like bamboo sticks. Our lecturer actually came up with this idea on the spot. Now you might notice we are making a lot of items for one sculpture. For instance, we do not need 4 bamboo sticks, and most of these will actually not be used in the final product. Rest assured, none of this is wasted. We simply have to create multiples of the same item in order to have some variety and be able to choose and compare which one looks the best for the final result. Similar to when you would pick a shade of lipstick, but you can't decide which one you want in the store. So you get both and then you decide which one you like and prefer as you're doing your makeup. and of course you get to use the other one for another time. Now moving on to my favorite part of today, my lecturer actually showed me how to create this realistic looking branch effect by creating this thing called plastic chocolate, which is where you melt cocoa butter and then mix in a ton of cocoa powder to create a pipeable consistency, which looks similar to ganache at first glance, but tastes nothing like it. I then piped this plastic chocolate mixture on some foil that we just shaped together and then wrapped in cling film to make it easier to demold later on. Once all of that was done and set, we gave it a light coat of some dark compound chocolate to add some texture to it. And this is where the magic happens. I then brushed the entire thing using steel wool in order to create that rough looking texture you would normally see on a real branch. I was so happy with how it turned out. We also made this like square base using some white couverture chocolate and some pieces of broken up dark and milk chocolate, which we are then going to demold next week. After that, it was time to pack everything up and safely store them to be demolded and continued the next week. This entire process took about 2.5 hours, which was all the time we had today. And then it was time to safely say goodbye to our creations and continue them next week. So I am back in my car after our very first chocolate sculpture session, and we actually got a lot of work done. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and yeah, I'm so excited. So I will be seeing you guys next week. And this video is gonna be like a few seconds. Yeah. Good morning, guys. Today is officially the second week of creating our chocolate sculpture at culinary school. Today we will be finishing some major work, connecting the pieces we made last time, as well as creating some figurines, flowers, and stuff like that. I honestly can't wait to get this over with. Not like in a bad way, in like a I can't wait to finish this so I can see what it looks like, you know. I am really excited. So with that being said, let's go to culinary school for week 2 out of 3 weeks of creating a chocolate sculpture. So for our second week, I started off by taking this block of marbled white chocolate we made last week and just carving it to really bring out the pattern from inside and leveling the sides, making sure it's nice and flat, and just going at it with my knife until I'm happy with it. And this is how it turned out. And of course I removed the metal ring around it, and this is going to be placed at the very bottom of our sculpture with holding the rest of the weight on top of it. We then demolded everything else, from the little round discs to the egg, as well as the bamboo sticks. After demolding everything, it was time to start assembling the sculpture. We stuck everything together by heating the part we wanted to stick on a tray, which was placed on a bain-marie to create this sort of heating pad where we would just place the chocolate on top and have it melt where we want it to melt. And we then connected the 2 halves of the egg together and just blended all around the edges by using some more chocolate just to make it look seamless. Same for the cocoa pod, and then it was time to start assembling. We placed one of the round discs we made on the block of marble. This was also completely full and not hollow, and we just stuck it on with the same technique by heating the bottom and sticking it on with some melted chocolate so that once it hardens, it will not move. Then we stuck the egg right on top. We actually melted down a good chunk from the bottom half as well as the top half of the egg so that they would lay flat, and just stuck those on with some more melted chocolate. It did actually end up using 2 of the 3 discs. And then this disc we placed on top of the egg, I actually dug a little hole out of it so that this squiggly thing, still don't know the name for it, will slide right in. And then we filled that gap up with chocolate and stuck it in and blended out those edges to make sure it was nice and seamless, and let that set. And that was actually it for assembling our sculpture today. We will be adding everything else, like the branches, the logs, the cocoa pods, all next week. But for now,
we were doing some prep. While our sculpture was all setting, we went ahead and tempered some white chocolate and actually created some petals for our chocolate flowers. You can see here, this is our lecture demonstrating how it's done. He started off by tempering the chocolate and then showing us really quickly how to make the petals for the flowers. And here's me and my classmate Laura making them. We were just practically making as many petals as we can in the time we had left. We're going to be needing approximately 40 petals per flower, give or take, so we will definitely have to make more, but it was a pretty good start. We will be putting everything together next week, of course. We made different variations of leaves. Here's me helping out Ivan brush on some green cocoa butter on these acetate sheets, and then my lecturer coating it with dark chocolate and carving out some leaves. And then once these are all set, they're going to create this gorgeous, gorgeous look. That's sort of like a streaky green leaf. And then we packed everything up, same as last time, and it was time to get cleaning. A lot of people ask me if we actually clean ourselves. Yes, we do. We don't normally clean the floors, but today it was a must because it got very messy with the chocolate, and it just wouldn't be nice to leave it like this. Normally we split up the work. For instance, I was washing the plates, some people dry the dishes, while others clean the fridges, others clean the tables, and others wash the floor, and so like that we finish up super quick. And that was all for today, and I will see you all next week.
Okay, you guys, we are finally done from our second chocolate sculpture lesson. Now all we have left to do is some final touches. I'm worried we won't manage to do everything next week, so we're probably gonna take up an extra week. So yeah, I will see you guys next week.
Fast forward to our third week of working on our chocolate sculptures. As you can see, we are having a little bit of a scenery change here. We are currently in the pastry kitchen downstairs for today, and we are starting off by unwrapping our sculpture and pretty much just taking a small, sharp office knife, and we're gonna use that to scrape away any rough or messy bits around the sculpture itself to seamlessly blend in the pieces we've stuck together. After that, my lecturer, as well as my partner Miguel, gave it a quick sheer coating of cocoa butter to really bring it all together, add some texture, as well as make it look more cohesive and make it look as if it was one solid piece. While that was going on, I did my own thing and I started working on the chocolate flower using the petals we created last week. Here is a clip of my lecturer giving us a demonstration on how it's done. Now this was a bit of a pesky task, but once I got a hold of the concept, it was fine. I basically created this sphere of chocolate. It's hollow inside, and I stuck it on this little disc. And then I took the petals I made, starting off with the smaller ones towards the center, and I stuck the wider piece, so the bottom part of the petal, I stuck that to the side of the sphere. And then I got my first layer done, and then for my second layer I stuck on the new petals in between the gaps created by the space between the sides of each petal, sort of filling in the gaps, like overlapping slightly, using the same size as before. And then for the last few layers, I used larger petals. I'm not really sure how many layers we did in total. The aim was to do just 3, but we sort of just kept going and lost track, sort of like when you're applying your eyeliner and you're like, oh shit, I messed up. I have to like make it bigger now and compensate, and like, oh no, the other side is different, so we have to make them the same. And we just kept sort of going on till we ran out of petals. So now we're left with this giant flower, which we are initially going to spray the entire thing and cover it using cocoa butter with our spray gun. We're still not sure what color we're gonna do yet. And then after that, we stuck on our giant log we made, our giant branch we made last time, like 2 weeks ago. We still didn't stick anything else on for now because we weren't really sure of the placement. We wanted our lecturer to give us some advice. Honestly speaking, I feel like this did not match the vibe. It just looks so out of place. But I really wanted to use the things we made. I didn't want to end up wasting all that time and resources for nothing. I spent a lot of time making these pieces. I want to stick them on my sculpture even if it doesn't look good. So we're just gonna see how it goes. That was all we actually did today. After this, we started cleaning up. Initially, the plan was to finish the sculpture and get everything done with today. And with that being said, we will be extending our sculpture session by another week, which means that I will see you all next week. Okay, you guys, I have just gotten back from our third week of working on our chocolate sculpture. It was supposed to be our final week, but we decided to extend it by another week because we are such a big class that by the time our lecturer gives us the individual attention we need and attends to us and helps us on our sculpture, the time would have already passed. With that being said, we have one more week to go to finish our chocolate sculpture, and I will see you then. Fast forward to our final week of working on our sculptures. I am so ready to finish our sculpture and see what it looks like. As soon as we got the sculpture from upstairs and set it down on our worktop to finish it, we encountered a slight problem. It sort of snapped in half. But luckily it only broke off at the top of the egg where we had stuck it on, so it just came off in a perfectly clean cut. So it would only require a quick fix. Once we managed to get it attached back on, it was time to get to work. Miguel was making some modeling chocolate for the rest of the class since we were almost done and wanted to help out. And in the meantime, I was patching up our flower because it also endured quite a bit of damage. These flowers are so fragile, but nothing like some white chocolate and cooling spray won't fix. Now that the flower's all done, it was time to spray it. I melted some cocoa butter and blended in some fat-soluble food coloring, and this is going to be put in the spray gun, which we're going to use to spray the flower. We went for an ombre white to pinkish color with a dash of red just to add some more depth to it. Here's our lecturer spraying it for us to give us a demonstration. And then after spraying it, my lecturer and Miguel proceeded to stick the flower on the side of the log. This required a lot of modeling chocolate and tempered chocolate to stick on. After sticking on the flower, Miguel and I decided to take a tiny little brush and just dab some green powder food coloring as well as some cocoa powder on the branch so we can create a mossy-like effect. After that, we decided to create some little ladybirds since our frog mode hadn't arrived in time. So we made some blobs, we sprayed them red, and then we fixed them on the sculpture. And boom, ladybugs. Look how cute they are. After that, we wanted something to cover the wooden base we put underneath our sculpture to hold it in place. So we just made some chocolate gravel. Basically, we did this by blending dry pieces of chocolate in a blender until they became small enough to resemble like really rough pebbles or gravel. So we just glued that on with more chocolate, cleaned up the sides, and finally we gave it a nice coat of glossy finish spray. In case you're wondering, no, we did not use the cocoa pod because it just felt so out of place. There was already way too much going on, so we just gave it to our classmates. With the rest of the stuff we did not use. But either way, nothing went to waste. Everyone made use of our extra pieces, and that way we were able to help some other people out. Now, 16 hours later, are you guys ready to see the final result?
We are finally done with our chocolate sculpture after 4 weeks. I'm about to head home. I will talk to you guys once I'm in my car. I cannot believe that it has already been a month since we've started our chocolate sculptures. I didn't really have any expectations since this was my first ever time doing something like this. So I didn't really have any like goals or anything or something I really wanted to do. I just wanted to try it out for fun. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my vlog. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon for another video. Bye guys.